can't do it anymore. That music was terrible. Oh, Alex is gone. There we go.
Here we go.
Welcome back, Alex. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for jumping in the chat. Hello, Dov. We are here for the May virtual outturn. Adam, Zach, Alex.
Yeah.
Ambassador. Let's do it. We're here to talk about a mixed bag of goodies. This is just a fun, nice little, almost experimental virtual outturn because we've got two heresies, both malt of the months for the last 2 months, both which had interesting and unique further maturations, and then just 3 killer single casks, including a nice little vaults collection. So, Alex, are you keen for this?
I'm so keen. I'm actually, I don't always, but I'm pre-pouring all of them tonight. And I'm going to nose through and then, have them breathe while we present, because they're all super different. I want to see what happens with
that one as well. And I think it's great to have just such a, I would even venture to say, a mixed bag of whiskies tonight. It's it's always good to try a wide variety of whiskies at these events.
It's true.
Yeah. I like shining lights on the heresies too, because, it's often like they don't really fit in the theme because it's like we're doing single cast as we normally do and trying to thread a different theme through it. So like heresy can get overlooked, or there might be one, but like they're great. So 2 on there is exciting.
2 especially deserve a bit of talking because of the interesting direction that they've taken them.
Hello to the Howies. Thanks for tuning in. We always appreciate you guys. We know sometimes you don't make it live all the time, so it's great to see you. Dov, very observant. No, Matt couldn't make it tonight, unfortunately. Mr. Teague, welcome.
Excellent. The regulars, I love it.
Before we jump into things, we will say that the lineup has slightly changed, as they do sometimes last minute. So if I do this, you can sort of see that we're going from, on our screen, left to right. So we'll start with the Scrumptious, go with the Citrus Vivacity, then the Tutti Frutti Truffle, then the Smouldering Mojo, and we'll finish with the Vault Collection 53.
That's cool. So you're sort of actually still just doing like left to right on your tasting palette, except that the middle one is a little bit lower instead of in line with the top row. So that's easy.
Yeah, pretty much. So I think let's Scrumptious. So you guys are pre-pouring. I'm doing the opposite. I'm just gonna go straight from the pour without letting it sit at all. So
to be fair, these bottles have had a bit of oxidization already since we used them to pour everyone's samples a couple of weeks ago. So they've been sitting at low fill for a couple of weeks, which is a good amount of time to get some oxygen into it.
Yeah.
So it should be ready to go.
No, that's horrible for you. And let's talk about what's special about this one. Other than that, it's an amazing 17-year-old single malt from a undisclosed Speyside distillery. Granted, you might guess it could be one of the Glens. We don't know. But it's most importantly matured in ex-Calvados barriques. So this is the first society whiskey that has ex-Calvados maturation going on with it, which is very cool.
And you touched on another really cool thing there, because heresies you can look out for. It's pretty open, but aren't obviously always single malts, and so it's just a bit of a volume game when we do heresies in single malt form. Share the love a little bit bigger than a single cask, but for listeners who don't know, I mean, this is basically how distilleries make their product when they sell single malt. Just marry way more casks than we do, but massive amounts of casks together from the same distillery to make an expression. So yeah, we're drinking sort of a 17-year-old single malt. It just happens to be in Heresy bottling range.
That's true.
Yeah.
Hi, Betty. Welcome to the
So we had something like 1,460 something bottles out of this one. Just a combination of probably less than 10 barrels.
I was thinking like 8 or something, probably right. Yeah.
So it's still pretty small batch in terms of like you're saying, larger distilleries putting together a single malt product. But for us, that's fairly large.
Yeah. And it was exclusively, sorry, not Mezcal, jumping ahead, ex-Calvados and bourbon barrels and barriques. So
yeah, so 15 years in ex-bourbon before the Calvados STRs came along. and 2 years then further in the Calvados. So I think I'm picking up on a fair amount of that influence.
Yeah.
It does help that the whiskey from this distillery tends towards green apple notes anyway. So it was a good choice by the team to use this single malt in conjunction with the Calvados barrels. So I think Alex, you might be the one to talk about this since you're such a francophile. But have you done any research on Calvados and how it's made?
No, not particularly. And like I've got to say, it's actually probably one of the spirits. Like when we see casks that have had like a previous contents, we do tastings where you might have the sherry side by side with the sherry cask. I mean, we all sort of know what bourbon is. And like Calvados, I mean, I've never really drunk. I probably have maybe once, but I'm only kind of guessing I would have. I definitely can't remember it. I've had my like fair share, which is still not much, of like just apple brandies. But yeah, it's not a very commonly, I mean, I think even less so than sherry, commonly drink in Australia at least, or where we play with it. But I guess just for listeners, we can make spirit out of lots of different starting points, provided they have sugar. So like malted barley is the malting process gets sugar into grain. You make wine from grapes, obviously, and then you make other fortified versions by just either taking the grape further into the creation of alcohol, or you literally just put alcohol into it to fortify it. And Calvados being like an apple-based version of that. So sweeten the fructose from the apple, and then that generates the alcohol.
That's right. Yeah.
And Howard's made a comment here or asked a question. I assume this doesn't meet Scotch definition because of apple barrel.
No, well, yeah, that's the interesting part. That's why we started playing with these barrels. Is in 2019 actually the SWA increased the kinds of barrels that you could use from I think it was just bourbon, sherry, wine, beer was allowed. Perhaps just other. Anyway, they've expanded it now, and things like Calvados, tequila, mezcal. I think they included cider in that one as well. We haven't seen any of those come through the SMWS, but here we are with the Calvados.
It's a good question. I remember when we sort of, I wouldn't say pioneered because we did it once and we didn't do it again, but we definitely got a bit of a wrist smack when we did the Glenmurray in the gin cask. And that was, to Zach's point there, that was before they expanded out the definition of what you could use. So technically, it wasn't one of the ones that was officially allowed to be used. I think the issue came because it used to be reasonably silent on the ones you couldn't, prescribe the ones that were common, but didn't actually say you are banned from calling it whiskey if it's in these casks. It just sort of was an implied thing. And then they went, oh, well, we've smacked a few people around for it. Maybe it's best to actually specify it. And then, expanded it out. So we play with a lot more cask now than we did before.
Martique asked, stone fruit still not allowed, he believes, due to high sugar?
You might be right. I don't think apricot brandy is allowed, that sort of thing. And I haven't heard any word on grappa casks, but I don't think you actually get grappa anyway, so it's fine.
Good point.
And Dov and Darren have both pointed out that Armagnac and cognac casks are also.
Yes. Yep. And just on that, I mean, Zach's reference to Francophile, yes, I suppose I mentioned apple brandy, but Calvados is like a protected appellation of apple brandy, basically. So much like champagne or other protected names for French products, Calvados has to be from France, whereas particular regions, exactly. Yeah, whereas if we have apple brandy, the production would probably be pretty identical, maybe with some tweaks because you don't have to do exactly the same. But basically, you're making alcohol out of apple using the sugar in the apples. But Calvados means these casks were from France.
The whiskey itself, for me, on the palate, it's developing more sort of apple pie notes, like the cinnamon and the bit of
good shout.
Definitely still the apple there, but it's a bit more. It's supported more by the bourbon cask, I think, with that vanilla and the creaminess to it.
Definitely, I think the palate's more like red appley for me, and maybe the nose was a bit tartar. But it's very appley. It's definitely appley.
I was getting the opposite. My nose was a lot sweeter than the palate.
Oh, okay.
I was getting more sort of I guess metallic tartness on the palate.
Yeah,
that can be a spirit note that I find in this distillery.
Yeah, and it could be just to the point about oxidization. It could actually be, I mean, I've pre-poured them, but mine were sort of fresh out of the small sample bottles. So it could be just it's a little bit fresher and crisper on the nose because it's newly opened just now. Very good though. I mean, like I think, you know, not every whiskey is for everybody, but I think if you love that orchard fruit Speyside classic note, and you know, you sometimes want that in spades, like this is really just complementing, like the Calvados element complements. I mean, Zach touched on it. What's already there in the spirit from this area, and it's a really, you know, sweet, good version of that characteristic. I think that's a winner.
I think at 50% it works quite well too. It's not too aggressive. It's sort of weighty enough, but not overbearing. And it allows that softer fruit note to come through.
Yeah, it's got the pastry's coming out for me now too. So maybe just that bit more time. But even on the nose, I'm getting more of that. Yeah, like baking spice and a few other things that go pretty well with apple. Maybe a bit of that oak.
This is definitely a summer dram for my money.
Yeah.
Make a good highball, probably.
I was just, it would definitely, it'd take a little, like a, you know, we don't say ice, but I'm going to put some water in a minute. But I think it would actually like be nice, a little bit chilled.
That might be
flavor.
I might hang on to a bottle of this and see if that's true.
Yeah.
There's less than 40 left in the country for this one because it did come out a couple of months ago, I believe. Darren says the Calvados, like Alex said, works as a complementary booster rather than altering core flavors. Yep, I think that's pretty fair to say.
Nice.
Another interesting note, which is one of those things you sort of always know but never think on, is that if anyone's ever bought a Heresy bottle, there's actually all the flavor notes on the back, as well as some more information about the batch itself, which, as you'll know, won't happen on any of our single casks. So that's just another little bit of trivia there. Good for cocktails, apple martini. That would be interesting.
That would be interesting.
I think that's a good pick.
Gives that a
martini. Yeah.
It's actually got a very good finish. I think that, like you said, Zach, the 50%, I wouldn't want it to be any, I mean, I will try with water because I've said I will and I always do, but I don't think I want it to be any less than 50 because it does carry the flavor really well. But I think like the finish on it's great, probably more than I expect from a 50%. And then it is to the point, I guess, that I know Andrew Derber just said a couple of times now at events, you know, there's a sign almost if you want to have a blind guess at something, and if the finish is really sort of deep down in the chest, then it might indicate a bit more of age than that sort of like really sprightly sort of ABV from younger whiskies. And this is 17, so I think that could also be part of it.
Mm-hmm. Enjoyable.
Yeah. Shall we crack onto a single cask?
Let's go.
Dive right in.
I love this distillery. I love an 11.
Citrus Vivacity.
Oh, so good.
So that is the sweet and zesty for anyone playing along at home, which is number 3 in the menu.
It certainly has the citrus on the nose. So this was a first fill ex-bourbon barrel. You tend to get more influence from the cask in first fill, obviously, and in smaller formats like a barrel. But this is still looking pretty
light on.
Light on, isn't it? Yeah.
Color light.
Yeah, it's packing that punch though. Like I think you're right. That citrus is right. I mean, it's in the title, but it's the first thing you get. But I don't often get this straight up, but I get so much of that more like Japanese citrus. Like it's a yuzu. It's something there. It's not sort of your classic like crisp lemon, crisp orange.
Yeah, I was having a look at this distillery earlier today, and I was surprised to learn that they do a full week of fermentation.
Wow, right.
168 hours, which is insane for Scottish distilleries. 48 is the norm, and if you're going for a long ferment, you might keep it to 60 or 70 hours, but doing a full week of fermentation is basically unheard of. And the point of this is that it sort of it develops a lot more fruity notes in the wash, and potentially that's where we're getting those more interesting citrus notes from the grapefruit and the yuzu and lemon zest and orange oil and all sorts of interesting citrus notes.
Such a good call. I'm glad you checked that because, like that, as Zach was saying, it extends out the fruit, but also like it's where it gets a bit funkier. And so you might have some of that like sour note coming in that makes the citrus, a little bit different from fresh, cleaner citrus. Sorry, Adam, I think you were going to say something.
The actual mechanism of what happens with the fermentation, and after 48 hours, you are basically done making alcohol. All the yeast is sort of done doing its thing. And then secondary fermentation begins, which is led by anaerobic bacteria. So it starts eating the stuff that's in that wash, and it starts creating its own outputs, which can be flavor drivers like esters, amino acids, oils, that sort of thing. But it also makes longer chain proteins within the wash, which result in more interesting flavors coming through.
Oh, wow.
Howard Ware is saying kumquats.
Yep.
I'm getting sort of like limoncello sponge note.
Yep. Great shout. The palate, the tartness is dialed down a little bit. Like it's definitely still there, but there's heaps on the palate. I don't know if you guys have tried it yet, but
yeah.
That is there's layers and layers and layers in that for a 9-year-old. That's pretty impressive.
Darren finds 11 OBs ultra pedestrian, nothing like this. That would be in line with our ethos.
That's true. That's why you remember.
Bob sends malolactic
fermentation.
Screen very far away.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good stuff. So the other thing I found out when I was looking into this distillery is that they were the largest malt distillery in the world in 1974.
Wow.
And they were just pumping it out. In fact, they had 24 stills. That's 12 of each wash and spirit stills. So it was huge at the time.
What year was that? Sorry?
74.
74.
So during the 80s crash, they downscaled massively. They closed for a little bit. And now, even though they're at their largest output in the modern era, they're still making 5 times less than they were in the 70s.
Yeah, because 24, that's like getting akin to like modern Macallan, modern Glenlivet, like not quite modern Glenlivet, definitely, but yeah, like it's up there with the larger ones, not at your kind of standard, maybe 6 to 8 still.
12.5 million litres a year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that ironic that they were doing so much, and yet we're only up to .70? Like I was talking about, like obviously it's not a direct correlation.
Amazing.
But I was talking about this with the whiskey and Albertine yesterday when we were looking at a distillery 8, and we're only up to .50, I think, and that's the 8th distillery to join the society portfolio, and this is the 11th. And again, only up to .70 in over 43, 44 years now. It's yeah.
Yeah, they have their little. It is always fascinating to look at. They have their little hiatus, and we don't see anything from them at all for 15, 20 year period, and then they come back, and it's always fun to look at why that is. But I don't know with this one why if it was just a slow trickle, because there's always sort of, I can't remember an era where there weren't 11s, but they definitely like kind of 1 to 2 a year.
Well, we've
very
seen,
slow.
Yeah, we've seen, I think, maybe 2 in the last year, not including this one, maybe 3. And then before that, the only one I can think of was the 20 not out.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
22.
Yeah.
There's got to be some relationship between when a brand starts focusing on its single malt and putting it out themselves and what becomes available to the market, as well as, like industry pressures. For instance, at the moment, there's a lot of distilleries trying to sell whiskey because they aren't selling it to consumers. And so there's a lot of opportunities for us to buy casks that we haven't seen before or haven't seen in a while. So potentially more Distillery 11 coming through at some point.
Good pray for a industry collapse that makes it get a few more like Lagavulin casks through. That would be nice. A few more, see a few more like an Edra now. That'll be all right. Haven't seen that in a long time.
We'll be laughing.
I mean, we can sort of say there are a lot of distilleries that you won't have seen in the society stable for quite a long time coming through in the next few years. But what those are, you'll have to wait and see.
That's long range.
Long range. Zach, did this come up in your studies today?
Yeah. So that was the companies that sort of rescued it from closure. And they're still majority owned by Japanese companies, similar to Ben Nevis.
No. Very nice.
But I don't think, I haven't heard much about this whiskey going over to Japan and being used in whiskeys there, as some others are.
This has turned into like a massive pineapple tropical sort of,
right.
It's like drinking a tropical pineapple juice out of a coconut.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like the coconut's hollowed out and there's not really much coconut essence in there, but that's what it feels like. It's a strong, like vibrant, sparkling pineapple juice note to it.
Yeah, there's a lot of in there
yes
for me as well. That sort of sparkling effervescence.
Yeah, you often see pineapple as like either a sort of a charred pineapple or like the bar condiment pineapple, like that really crystallized dehydrated pineapple. But this is definitely like fresh, really zesty pineapple.
Yeah, this is nice. I mean, I've tried this, but I don't think it's been a couple of months at least, and I don't remember it tasting like this for once in a while. That's insane.
Hugely rate that. Yeah.
Sarah is so excited to try that, and we are so excited for you to try that as well. Sarah, welcome to the stream. Potentially first live stream, virtual tasting live stream. I mean,
yeah,
that's growing on me too. It's like I thought it was interesting to start with.
It's definitely developed in the palate for me as well.
It's getting better and better.
It's like a supercharged thermonuclear strong 196% Gaijin killer. I'm surprised I was able to say that in one go.
Yeah, you did very well there, and I think we can tell who's just flown to Japan very recently.
Yeah. Actually, are you in Japan right now, Darren?
Very possible. It's usually a shake of the dice, like jealous.
We did just have a nice tonkotsu ramen for dinner, so
very good.
Well, it's not really anything, but it was delicious.
That is super cool. Well, I didn't know that Japanese ownership fact when I was like, it's a bit yuzu-ish and a little bit more sort of Japanese citrus, but that is a fun thing and almost certainly a total coincidence, but very fun. Don't think they'd be dosing their spirit to make it a bit more like their own flavors.
Sarah asks, will it be available at the Thursday Brizzy tasting? No. No. There will be an 11 there. That's a Flavour Profiles, isn't it? Yeah, there will be an 11, but it's in the Coastal Maritime profile and it's unreleased. So that will be exciting.
That's what I look forward to.
Yeah. There is a sweet and zesty, but it's not this one. I can't remember what it was at the top of my head. But as you know, there's one from every Flavour Profile. Unfortunately, this one will not be there to taste. But
That's a cool point in itself, how versatile it is, because there's always the quest to find the distillery that's done the most flavor profiles. With the old one, it was probably there were more to tick through, but with this new one, and fewer profiles and probably a little bit more thought into proper differentiation. So I think it's going to be harder to find distilleries that cross heaps of them. But the fact that we've got a zesty and sweet and an oily and coastal contender, and they do a peated run, there'll be a peaty, smoky something in there. Then
no, it's still 11. I think it's it's still the same. I'm not sure if it is a peated run. I assume it would be.
Yeah, they run peated once a week and they release it under a different name, but it's all within the distillery.
Same stills.
Yeah, same stills.
Yeah. That is going to be cool to taste though. But this is also very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
I like that.
I might leave a bit in my glass.
Yeah, I'm leaving a bit too for sure.
Yeah, I won't.
Very interestingly.
My final comment on that is that I think the citrus like acidity is masking the ABV on that, because I do not think that's hot, but it is like sprightly and like zingy is the right word for it, or zesty or whatever. But
62.2.
Yeah, but no, it's not hot.
Absolutely. I would have thought maybe like a 56 or a 58.
Yeah, agree. Very nice.
Sarah, I apologize. I promise the lineup on Thursday night will be incredible. And you know what? That 11 you're going to have might even be better than this one. So, in fact, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. If anyone's going to a tasting this week, of which, by the way, we have Adelaide tonight, Grand Tour of Scotland, Perth tomorrow night, Grand Tour of Scotland, Canberra tomorrow night, New Flavour Profiles, Brisbane on Thursday night, New Flavour Profiles, and then the Hobart and Launceston New Flavour Profile tastings are on the weekend, Friday night. Can't remember off the top of my head, but it's also this week. So heaps of tastings, lots of society whiskey is going to be around. So please let us know what you're tasting, what you enjoy, what you love. And you'll also find a little surprise on your menus in the form of a little quiz to find your flavor profile. So be sure to post what your flavor profile is.
Adam's been a busy boy.
Oh, again, just one breath, got it out. Darren tried a 196. This is the RTDs, right? The crush. Would make a beautiful Boilermaker style with this, but it would be a very short night out.
Sure would.
Well,
I mean, 62% and like 9% on the strongs. Yeah.
It is going pretty well with. I just have a. That's right, Tiki. That is definitely it. I'm like a little 5% expat. It's going pretty nicely as a Boilermaker with that with the 11. I thought it would go very well with the scrumptious, but I think the 11 is actually working better.
I feel like a nice fruity whiskey is always makes a good base for a Boilermaker, you know.
Yeah.
There you go. The parent company's biggest distiller of shoju in Japan.
There you go. Probably not putting any of the whiskey into that.
Yeah.
Friday night Lonnie, Saturday Hobart. Thank you, Tigi. They're going to be amazing. They've all got 8 drams, and they pretty much all have dinners, and it's going to be fantastic. So
big night.
Yeah, big nights. I think Hobart and Launceston are still on sale. Canberra, Brisbane, Canberra, Brisbane cut ticket sales, unfortunately. So
yeah,
you got it. Lucky you.
Ours is the 20th for any Victorians watching who haven't planned that out yet. But jump on, and it's going to be it's a full lunch, and as Adam said, all 8 drams, one from each of the profiles.
And you'll be able to write your own tasting notes, and I think we only have about a dozen tickets left to that one. So jump in if you haven't. Shall we do the little Tutti Frutti truffle?
I'm so ready.
The little.
Don't ask me that.
The little Tutti
again, like 60. Haven't seen too many of these. Amazing distillery, brilliant. Like coming through again.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but lately we have been, but not for a while. And it's nice to see. Again, 60.52.
I think when I joined, it would have been years before there was a 60 around. It was like, was it done? Like that was the thought process on it. It had been so long. It's like, is it gonna, we're gonna get more from it? But in fact, and I'm pretty good with this. And Tigi's on the line. He can usually jump in if I have a memory fail. But I can't remember a single like bold code era 60.
Yeah.
Paper label, yes, and more recently, yes, but I don't think there were any in that whole period of bold code. But there might have been one or two, but I just can't remember them. But there were definitely not many, if there were any.
Quite a hiatus.
Yeah. Mark was able to try this at the Queensland Malt Whiskey Expo last weekend. Said it was excellent. That's what we like to hear. This is quite fun. I think Matt did a little video on this, but I'm not sure if he ever released it. No, I think he did. Yeah.
This smells great to me. I'm getting a lot of really roasted sugar notes.
Yeah, okay. Because I'm getting like that sort of vanilla wafer thing, like sugary, wafer biscuits. Like the pink ones.
Mm-hmm.
It's just all sugar.
Yeah.
Yes, Mark. I do actually remember a Aberfeldy in the last couple of years. It was a light and delicate, which is a profile in itself that we rarely saw.
That's interesting for this distillery. I generally see it in my head and in other IBs in that more sort of rich, sherry heavy category, because it works so well with sherry casks. It sort of becomes this nice and rich and a bit treacly.
It's probably all related. That comment, I think, Zach, like it's probably why we were able to get a few in those profiles in the hiatus years, because it wasn't house style, or it was lower down on the listed priority for the distillery to do it that way. So we snapped them up because they were, from memory, like Mark said, Teague said, always like reasonably young, the ones I saw, and in bourbon.
Well, this one's 8 years bourbon, 3 years second fill American Oak PX.
This is why it's good to have our own maturation in-house, and we can control some of the recasking, because that's the same, actually. Probably nothing's changed, maybe availability, but it'll be one of those bourbon casks, young bourbon casks we got. Cool.
Yeah,
I think like 96, the SMOBS rarely get sherried.
And then we have to choose to do it ourselves, I suppose. Tell you what, though, the color on this, that's pure gold, I would say.
Yeah, it's not deep or dark at all. It is quite shiny.
It's got a really cool like lactose thing on the nose for me. There's a definite like lactic thing, which is, I think it makes you think it's going to be a weightier spirit already. I haven't actually tried it yet, but gives you that, sets you up for that.
It's not too heavy, but it's a touch oily, a touch mouth coating, I think.
Yeah, cool. Good. All right, I'm doing it.
It has something of a almost like a coal fire something or other going on for me, like a dirtiness to it.
On the palate or the nose?
Palate.
Okay.
Oh yeah. It's borderline that Hessian mustiness as well. Like something's going on with it that was not on the nose at all.
No, yeah. That's really cool.
That is cool.
I do like a heavy spirit when it's in full view like this.
It's also very well integrated, like that. I know it's not quite cracking the 60s, but there's no trouble bringing that down at all.
Yeah, if you're a sherry head and you like what sherry cask does in quite old whiskies, it gets that little bit of like that super developed sherry on it. I think the age here you'd miss out if you don't look for this one, because on the palate in particular, that is quite a developed, like old sherry cask kind of style. The nose even would trick you until you taste it, and you get it. But yeah,
I would say this is the complete opposite of a sherry bomb. Basically, this is almost no sort of syrupy sweetness at all.
Yeah, it's like all that secondary flavor tier. Yeah.
But it's coming through. I'm getting on revisiting the nose after the palate. It's giving me some red berry sort of stuff, like raspberry and maybe even a little bit of strawberry. Just these lighter, sweeter berries in there.
That's pretty impressive. I'm getting that burnt thing you were saying now, Zach, or that kind of like that charry kind of element to it.
Yeah. And it's worth saying that this distillery doesn't do peat.
See, I'm getting more of that char on the nose. I'm not getting any of it on the palate. But now, after a sip, definitely getting it on the nose.
Yeah, this one's fascinating. That's a great point, mate, because I actually am getting more now, but I'm certain it's because I wasn't getting it before I drank it, and then it's definitely doing something on like the retronasal. Like as I now am nosing it, it's coming back as well because it's on the palate and it's doing a kind of complete thing. Because it was totally different dram before I tried any at all.
Which, if for those watching and tasting along at home, if you haven't already, sometimes we encourage you to keep some in your glass. So we like to go back to it later. They always change. Your taste buds will change. It's always fascinating to see.
I'm going to add a bit of water to this one.
Okay.
See what's up.
If you buy a bottle of this, it will give you an excuse to talk to your mates about retronasal olfactory effect. So, like, do that.
You tick that off the bucket list, basically.
That's right. Let's see a word bingo for the week. I'm now getting a slight, like a salinity thing off it.
Yeah, okay.
Like
I was going to say, I'm getting pink finger buns.
It is
creamy, spongy sugar. Not whiskey barber, but
so many varied.
It is. I now understand the tutti frutti comment. I didn't really get it like right up front, but now it's breathing. I'm getting that kind of. I think that's where that note was, Adam. Like that kind of much more confectionery, sugary note. Yeah.
And leaning a little more towards the candied fruits. For me, I'm still that roasty coal and some sort of like dying ember in a fire is still in there for me. Burning rope or something like that. It's like it's not peaty at all, not earthy, but
something's just burning.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you were right about the embery bit too. It's like it's an after. It's something's been burnt. Definitely, it's not kind of a really. There's no like smoke, acrid kind of. Like it would have if it was peated, or potentially could have if it was peated. Yeah, it's like a singed rope is like as close as I think we've got. I agree with that.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah. I like it.
That was interesting. It's also a good showcase of the dried fruits and spices flavor profile. And the fact that, and we'll keep saying this, it's not a deep rich and dried fruits clone.
That's it.
At all. Because this certainly would not have gone in deep rich and dried fruits, I don't think.
No, it's got spicy and dry kind of elements to it.
Absolutely. There's notes, but I don't think there's enough to have gone into DRDF. Like it just doesn't have those the syrupiness, the dried prunes type of dried fruits notes or anything. So it's really cool to see these new bottles come through in this bright red dried fruits and spices livery, just being quite different to what people expect them to be.
Yeah, spicier take on that DRDF style.
It's a riff on the classic, if you will.
I would.
Thank you.
It's a good lead in to the peated stuff as well.
Yeah. Good order change, because I think like the smouldering bit is going to be a nice little segue now straight into the next one.
Yeah, I'll just read out Darren's fantastic comment, opening the door on the smoker the day after a cook.
Yeah, day after, critical point, agree. It's like that after effect thing. I'm 100% with you. Yeah.
That's painted a great image. I could go for a second dinner.
Yeah, I want brisket now for some reason. Just
completely unrelated. But as you guys were saying, it's a great lead-in to our peated whiskies. The first of which is Malt of the Month, Batch 34, Smoldering Mojo, which technically is a peated whiskey, because most of the liquid that went into this blended malt actually came from Islay. And then it was matured in bourbon and sherry.
Bourbon and sherry. So a collection of bourbon and sherry casks, which were then put into a collection of mezcal casks, and then vatted.
STR as well.
STR mezcal. It's been quite a journey for this one.
Yeah.
So important points here. This is another one of the cask types that the SWA is now allowing mezcal, which is not a subset of tequila, but a different take on the same sort of production.
So it's like a cousin.
It's like a cousin. In tequila, you have to follow much stricter guidelines to create this product. It's one of the more closely guarded production methods except for that whole debacle we had with people putting sugar syrup into their tequila.
We won't talk about that.
We won't talk about that. Anyway, so tequila is Blue Weber agave only, and production methods in terms of getting the sugar out of the piña, which is the heart of the agave plant, where all the sugar is concentrated. Those production methods are a bit more strict and a little more modern, you would say. So you would use a brick oven or an autoclave, which is a steaming, shredding sort of situation, to get all the sugar out as efficiently as possible. Whereas in mezcal, which is what we're dealing with here, the methodologies are more sort of artisanal and relate back to the more traditional methods of how the spirit was made in years gone past, including but not limited to crushing the piñas, the hearts of the agave, with stones drawn by mules or by hand, and then fermentation in open vats in open air, or in vats made of animal skins or even bark. Interesting little bits and pieces like that. One of the bigger things for mezcal is that they roast the piñas before shredding, and that's generally where you're going to get the smoky flavor in your mezcal, if it does indeed have that smoky flavor. It's all down to the production methods the people making it use, which are many and varied. When tequila is made with the one agave variety, there are hundreds of varieties out there, but you can use as many as 40 varieties to make mezcal in Mexico. So generally you're finding these plants out wild because they take so long to grow. It's something like 7 years before they're mature, ready to harvest.
Oh.
And that's on the lower side.
Mm-hmm.
So up to something like 20 years, you're waiting for this plant to grow to maturity so that the sugars are ready. It's when the plant is just about to flower that you want to cut that stem and take the piña and steal those sugars.
Does it matter whether it takes 7 or 20 years or anything in between to mature, or will the flavor change if it's like matured at 8 years? Or
does it matter whether a whiskey has matured 7 or 20 years?
No.
No, it gives you a
so it does matter. It's not just it's matured.
It's not better or worse. It's not more mature or less mature. It's a different beast.
Yeah.
So different agave plants will take longer or shorter to mature, and they'll develop different kinds of flavors in that period, also dependent on area and elevation and all sorts of stuff. So mezcal is really very similar to whiskey in terms of all this wide breadth of flavor that can be created, but it's all in the pre-distillation whereas whiskey is generally creating more flavor post distillation.
Yep.
So it's an interesting little collaboration that we've got here. And what we're looking for is herbal, sort of fruity, but in an odder kind of way, in directions that you're generally used to seeing in whiskey. Things like capsicum and maybe some grassiness to it as well. Herbal, as I said, a little bit of smokiness, but the majority of smokiness in this whiskey is going to be coming from the Islay component.
Yep. I think as well, the interesting thing about it, if we jump very quickly to tequila, and the reason that you probably see more mezcal casks used than tequila casks as a named product is probably because, I think I'm understanding this correctly, but my understanding of tequila in terms of, other than what Zach was talking about to do with like the strict production methodology, the classification of tequila is to do with an aging process. So what gives it its, whether it's reposado or all its sort of classification levels, is kind of time in oak. And so there's a link to, say, like a Chianti concept of like whether you're Reserva or Classico or whatever. It's not the product you're making, it's to do with the maturation time. So when you have something like that, you're talking about the time it's spent in a barrel. When the barrel is emptied out, you put whiskey, and it's still, at the end of the day, I mean, it's tequila's been in the barrel just for varying lengths of time. So you're distinguishing between tequilas, probably a little bit harder to do, a little bit more irrelevant. But with mezcal, because of, as Zach said, a lot of that flavor, most of the flavor is kind of in the real craft from the flavor is before and in that first production stage. You get a lot of different mezcals going into the cask, and so if you want to be using different flavored, different qualities of your cask, you're much more likely to get that out of a mezcal because all that development has happened when it goes in. So then all you have to do is empty it out, and you've got the difference between a really, really herbal mezcal that's very light on smoke versus a quite smoky, relatively speaking, mezcal. So more to play with at the cask level for the whiskey industry with mezcal.
I would think so, yeah. You would tend to get more sort of salinity from a tequila cask, or from the ones that I've seen anyway. More of a salinity plus vegetal.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
But it's an interesting new field that we can sort of frolic in the whiskey industry. It's a really cool flavor influence.
I think there's a lot to be explored there. I mean, Howard made a comment that it's bastard whiskey, which technically isn't even true, because now it actually is whiskey as of 2019. Before that, it would have been.
It is, Howard, my always like my bugbear when, especially when I was like new to whiskey, like teaspooning was just like always talked about like a thing, right? And now I think it's because the lid's been blown off it a bit. It's a different thing now. But back then it was like, you put the little teaspoon of another whiskey into, your main cask of whiskey, and then because technically it's a blend, or vatted malt, can't call it that main component anymore. And you think, yeah, but like casks contain so much residual product that if you're dumping out, if you, in this example, you dump out all the mezcal that was in the cask before, you're going to be in a normal, barrel, you're holding like 9 liters of the stuff in the wood or whatever. It's huge, the residual previous spirit. So yeah, I mean, no one talks about it, but like this is literally whiskey with mezcal in it as much as it is a mezcal cask, because once that whiskey starts to leach into the wood, it's pulling out all the mezcal that was left behind before it. So in that way, yeah, bastard whiskey, but in that way, all whiskey is bastard whiskey.
Yeah.
That's one way to look at it, yeah.
Virgin oak is fine.
I usually just take new make and pour sherry into it.
Yeah. Is that seasoned new make then?
No, that's not bastard whiskey. That's regular whiskey.
Oh, of course. Yeah. We understand this one is going to be divisive, and that's okay, because that's why we release so many whiskeys. There's a flavor for everyone, and that's okay, Howard, that it's not your flavor. We hope the others you enjoyed, and Darren, Carla, you enjoyed it. We love it. Love to hear it. This is our first foray into this, just like it was with the Calvados cask of Scrumptious. So we will probably see more of this every now and then, and that'll be cool to see. Do we know the original spirits is how the cask has affected the final flavor? No, we just know most of it came from a well-loved Islay distillery. I'm not sure what it is, because I'm alluding to a distillery. We genuinely don't know. But I'd say it's... Would you like to venture a guess?
It might be a consistent distillery. You know, it might be like a reasonably consistent one.
It seems like it's probably Kalila. But we genuinely don't know. But it is cool to see some peated whiskey with this being used with this new cask maturation type. So
it's also interesting to see how it's been used in the wider industry. One of the most interesting uses I've seen of a mezcal cask was with Glenmurray through their OB, which can tend to be quite, they fall flat often. But yeah, this was really interesting and brought a new dimension to the whiskey, which tends to be a bit plain. So if we get something from that distillery through with a mezcal cask, I would be very interested to try that.
That was very impressive dancing around the core concept of that comment. our 35 are better than Glenmurray OBs. That's what we're all saying. We'll all stand by that.
Isn't that what we're virtual tasting?
But no, that's dead right. And that's actually, I was listening to you say that thinking, that's fascinating because like when we've done Distillery 35, I mean, we all love Distillery 35 from us. Great canvas spirit, like as in we get heaps of different cask types with it and it generally works really well. Like we had some absolute stonking like Chenin Blanc, 35s back in Bold Toad. But when the OB does like Chardonnay cask, it's sort of, I think 35, don't want to derail because we don't have a 35 in front of us, but I think 35 doesn't like sit great with its level of dilution if you want the really interesting stuff to come out of it. And then you get something a little bit more interesting, a little bit more developed with higher ABV. Which I think that's what it is. But I'll be trying that, Zach. I'll be trying that with mezcal now.
Very cool. The Benramac did a tequila cask. That would be interesting to try. Light peat with the Benramac and nice malty characteristics to go with the saltier tequila influence.
I'm assuming they bourbon first, Darren, but we can, I'll be interested to hear about that because full maturation would be crazy.
Bourbon cask to start and then into sherry and then into something else, but it could have gone straight from bourbon into
bourbon to yeah.
Right, shall we
eat now?
Yeah.
Perfectly primed,
53.431, the stuff that dreams are made of. A Vault Collection 31-year-old Distillery 53.
Special whiskey.
Special whiskey
alert.
Legacy Flavour Profile, Legacy Livery. Vault Collections do not exist anymore, as in they're not being produced, but we have a few still lying around. And this one is quite cool. This was actually part of a set. So it was one Oloroso butt that was then split into two barrels. One was an ex-rye barrel, which is called... No, I can't remember what it's called. And the other one was a First Fill Ex-Bourbon barrel, which is this one, the stuff that dreams are made of. The rye barrel was tasted in Melbourne at the peat event. I just can't remember what the cask name was. But this is essentially a bit of a peat experiment.
And that rye barrel, that sort of sister or set cask with this one was just super well received. And I think like it's a testament to 53. Sorry, that they can do these long maturations in sherry first, and so we've seen some other like good age statement 53s that are just straight full maturation sherry, like Carpe Diem and things like that. People remember those casks. Usually full maturation sherry just is quite saturated, and that's kind of what people think of. If it's a young whiskey, 10 years in sherry, it might be pretty unctuous and pretty hot on the sherry. But I think just there's this batch of 53s that were put into the right level of refill sherry that it could just go the distance. And we've seen them come through at like 29 to 30 years. And then this is just a really cool next step of finishing them off with something to maybe round out a flavour gap or have a play with something that would add to it.
Yeah. Before we press on with this one, we'll answer Howard's question really quickly. What's your view on all these new barrel types, a good or bad thing for whiskey? I would say they're a good thing because I think a little bit of evolution is necessary. Otherwise, something will stagnate and then fade away. So I think you need to introduce some new stuff, if not to try it, and it might not. This might not be a thing at all. People might find that certain cask types just don't work as well, and thus they will not use them very often. But I think it's worth trying because you have nothing to lose at the end of the day.
I think as well, Howard, like when Adam put up your comment and Darren's comment about the different view on the mezcal cask, I think like being able to narrow down to variables is a rare thing to be able to do and a really cool thing in whiskey. So if you've got, you kind of all agree, yep, it's a Speyside whiskey, we're happy with it. And then one is finished in a rich sherry cask, one's in a mezcal cask, one's in like an ex-peated Islay cask. You can kind of say, well, you eliminate the Speyside bit from your assessment. Oh, yep, I like that anyway. And then you try a few different cask types and you go, oh, I love it with a bit of peat on it, or I love it with a bit of that, that capsicum like off the mezcal, or I love it with a bit of the sherry, whatever. And so you can kind of really refine what you like about the product. And it's a bit like the same thing as when you've got, I don't know, different, maybe same grape, different climate kind of thing in wine. Like you go, oh, I like my Cab Savs with way more of the vine tomato, or like dial that right down. And you need to be able to remove variables to see what gives you the product you want. And then once you got that, hey, if you don't want to buy mezcal casks and that's the variable that does it, you can always just look past the mezcal casks. But someone else who loves it will go, every time I see a mezcal cask, it's probably going to give me something that I love in whiskey, and away I go. So I think it's that we in the society love to play with those variables and give you, it's why we do distillery deep dives. It's why we do flavor profile deep dives, trying to kind of have one similar variable and then give you some chat on the different variables so you can work out what you like.
Yeah. Betty, nice to see you coming back to the now that the peated whiskey is out.
Betty's waking up. Betty's awake now.
Welcome back. The ABV for a 31-year-old is high.
Great.
You know what?
10%, yeah.
Yeah, considering it was also had a further maturation, it's up there. There's so many factors that go into that. I mean, it could have been a very tight cask.
Betty, if you can hear me and you're listening to me do this, put your comment up about the Smouldering Mojo, please, because you're like a peat litmus test for us. And I know, Smouldering Mojo is a different beast, but it's got peat in it and it's got like mezcal smoke in it, and it's a fun play on combining those two things. So I'd be keen to hear, you might. I'm not going to put words in your mouth. Put up what you think. I've got a theory about what you'll say.
Everyone tells me.
Well, I think.
But this 53's nose I haven't tasted it yet, but the nose is incredible.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's lovely. The sherry is there's not much influence there for me.
I think for me it's coming through as this rancio, leather armchairs, old books, almost like cigar box, leaning into tobacco.
Yeah, I get old leather and tobacco, not so much the rancio.
And then it's the sweetness is then, I would say, attributable to the bourbon cask coming along on top.
Yeah, I think that for me, the bourbon cask and possibly the fact, refill sherry can kind of be a little bit, it's got some of the similarity to bourbon cask in a way, because like the very specific, say, red fruits are a little bit hard to detect, and it's become this kind of nice, sweet, fruity amalgam. if it's particularly refill. But I think for me in this one, like, it's got everything I'm looking for. I haven't tasted it yet. On the nose, it's got everything I'm looking for, but it's sort of sweetening up some things which are usually a fairly maritime. Like, I'm getting very distinct, like, rock pool, flinty salinity, but it's not sort of funky or fishy in any way. It's quite a sweet version of that, which I like.
I'd say the rock pool salinity I'm getting a lot. Howard asks, why have they dropped the vaults? I mean, in a nutshell, it's just to condense the and streamline the society liveries and the range. So the vaults and the premium were two separate bottlings. So both black label vaults came with the box and the little gold ribbon there. They've both been dropped and turned into the Creators Collection, which now each collection tells a story. Age doesn't factor into it, as you'll see in the next few months with the New Wave Creators Collection coming through, which is all New Wave distilleries at quite younger ages than we've seen in the Creators so far. And it just is just a new direction to go. I think now that we just have the Heresy, the Signature, which are white labels, and the Creators Collection, instead of having two different black label ranges.
Yeah. And I think, Howard, a bit like the Flavour Profile rejig, there's been this real effort to talk about the things that matter more than things that are the things that have historically been talked about, and a bit more attention on that. And I think, Vaults is cool because it made perfect sense at the time. Like, it's just something that's hard to get. You barely see Kalira of this age or, Macallan of that age or whatever. There was a logic behind it, but the move to Creators, and premium was sort of another extension of that, but like a lesser thing. So it was already sort of one thing, it's just depending on the level. Creators is much more about like the thematic view of it. Like, why are we showing you these things together? Why are they in this set? It's not just because they're like an arbitrary Vaults collection title we've given it. It's because they are all Australian wine casks, or they're all like an exploration of peat, or they're all new age distilleries or whatever. So it's much better for members to understand, I think, a Creators Collection, as opposed to seeing like the Vaults collection as a collection, because there was nothing really unifying that other than they were designated that way.
Yeah, and some of it was also born out of member feedback. So I think that there's been in recent years, just in general in whiskey, but also within society, a thirst for more knowledge, more storytelling. And the Vaults collection, as you said, Alex, they served a very real purpose. But at the end of the day, they're just the old and rare stock. Incredible whiskey nonetheless, but old and rare society stock. The repurposing of that stock into something that tells a story that really plays into the thematics and the journey that you would going from 1 to 3 or 1 to 4 or 1 to 2. With Diptych, we saw Creators Collection with just 2 whiskies. That spoke to the society members a lot more. So, yeah, I hope that answers your question. Betty has love the smoke, not quite so heavily peated as the other 53s. Yeah, that's true.
Technically, it had exactly the same amount of peat starting off, but over time in cask, these peat is quite a volatile component, and it tends to break down quickly. Not quickly, but like over 30 years.
Or 31 years. It would, yeah. That's why the younger whiskies will always be more heavily peated, generally speaking. That sherry is coming through a lot more now. And I am sort of getting that musky old armchair.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I realize you've had it sitting in the glass for almost an hour. I just poured mine. So that makes sense.
Yeah, that deserves time in the glass for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's got this lovely, expensive wooden furniture thing going on for me, like a heavy, well-oiled teak, something or other.
I think I don't want to verbal Richard Patterson, but I think he used to say, still says, a second on the tongue for each year. And I think like that's a bit arbitrary, but I get where he's coming from, because I think you need to do more with it, like let it breathe. I mean, you'd be careful with water, but you need to just kind of let older develop longer, and whether that's in the glass or on the palate as he prefers it or whatever. But there's a truth in that. this one would need time. I'd certainly be holding that on the palate a bit longer and like exploring what's there.
Yeah. Whew, I think that's an exceptional one to end on.
Yeah. But I am interested to go back as well.
Yeah, I might do. Should we do a run through? Have we got enough there in all our glasses? So let's go back around. I think
give us a run through, fellas.
The scrumptious for me, more bakery stuff.
Yep, and all the tartness for me has gone. Like it's quite sweet, red apple nose and palate now. Like it's lost its tartness.
Citrus vivacity is more like a sherbet kind of citrus now, like a still very lemon verbena, but
great shout. Yeah, that's a great call. Almost as well a slight breadiness, like something a little bit bakery.
Yeah,
but not a sweet bakery, more like a not quite sourdough funk, but a much more unsweet kind of bread.
I think I'm going to buy that 11.
That's very cool.
That lot of it is awesome. The yuzu's dipped a bit, but it just goes to show like I'd be happy when it's freshly opened, and I'll be happy after it's at half pour for 6 months.
That's it.
Tutti frutti.
That one's lost a bit for me. Oh, I did add water to this one, so that's probably on me.
Yeah, I think that probably has accelerated, but honestly, for me as well, the vibrancy of any sweetness is gone. It's a bit flatter on its nose. I'll just try it again.
I am getting that tutti frutti, like one of those chalky candy.
Oh, like love hearts, kind of that. The palate is still zinging. Actually, it's just the nose that over time has wafted off what the palate now still has. But
that's one to get straight into.
Yeah. Mezcal. Smokier maybe, or
I'm getting more of the roasted vegetable that I would expect from a mezcal. Yeah,
the roasting. That's it. It's not necessarily pedia, but it's more of that. The smokiness from the mezcal is more prominent. Yeah, which is charry.
Sweet and charry. That's cool.
That is cool. That's a very good. We didn't really talk about this tonight at all, but that is like the Smoldering Mojo is a very good like food whiskey with a lot of different foods. I mean, Mexican, but
and then coming right back around to the 53, it's still deliciously refined.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent lineup.
If anyone is interested in buying a bottle from tonight's lineup or anything off the website, ta-da! As of tonight up until Sunday, you can use the code to get complimentary shipping just for this week and just from 7 p.m. tonight. Shipping in May at checkout applies to all orders, no limit. So,
excellent.
Enjoy yourself. But fellas, what's the pick from tonight?
Oh,
I'm going to go the 11.
Oh, I mean, it's hard to go past the 31-year-old Kalila at cast strength, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm going the 11. I think like I if you ask me and you put price out of it, I think I'm still borderline. So that's impressive in itself. You know, like if I just go, they're the two for me as well for just like something special. And then it's like if they're close without considering price, the 11 is just like amazing for what it is then. But I don't know, like it also depends. I'm thinking back, Zach, when we're talking about the uses of scrumptious, like if we're in winter now, obviously it's a little bit cooler, but just thinking about sitting out like on a deck or a veranda or a garden or whatever you've got at home and having like a dram of that scrumptious.
So
Yeah.
I think it's probably still warm enough in cans.
Yeah, well, yeah. Like anyone in a warm climate at the moment that's still getting 30-degree days, like if you prefer the scrumptious, I wouldn't be surprised because it's so fresh. Stays fresh even after peated and smoky drams. Like it's very good.
But then if I were cooking, say like on a barbecue or doing some sort of
Thanks, Betty.
roast, I would probably want the Smouldering Mojo just like in a glass while I'm working away.
Yeah.
So there's a winner for every occasion, I reckon.
For everyone. But I think like I'll be buying the 11 because it's just so good. But you know,
I think I'll be buying the 11. It's very good.
It's just so
good.
good.
No surprise, 53 is your winner. We'll see you at the next virtual, which will come out on sale next Friday the 5th. And speaking of, ta-da, there's the cover for this Friday's Outturn.
Tiggy, it's you, mate. You're on the call and it's you. Look at that.
Whiskey's My Jam is still on the stream. You might see a familiar face there. You. So we've got some really exciting whiskies coming up in June. And I know some of you will ask, where are the festival bottlings? Are they going to be in this one? You'll have to wait an extra month for that because of shipments. That's just how it works sometimes. So the festival bottlings, of which they are amazing, and there are many of them, they'll be landing in July. So July, August will be lots of festival events, lots to get around, incredible flavors, and some new distillery codes coming through as well.
Exciting.
Yeah. And now the Howies are making us very jealous, sitting in shirts and shorts with fans going, "We feel your pain."
Yeah.
Well,
You know, first it was the brisket, now it's the climate. Unbelievable.
or a big dram of scrumptious and enjoy. Well, yeah.
Thanks for tuning in. Thank you, everyone. Alex, Zach, thank you very much.
Thanks, gents.
We appreciate you all tuning in on your